Well, so it's great to see you all here. It's fantastic to see everybody here. I apologize for a standing room only, but I'm really delighted that it means so many people are showing up for conservation. Hopefully next year we double that, so you'll keep doing your job. We'll just make sure we get a bigger place or more chairs for everybody. But I think we've had some questions coming through. So as we said, please pull out your phones. Don't hesitate, not rude, and scan this. You'll get to an app called Slido, and then we'll take some questions from there. We're going to get a couple. I think I've got some people on my team helping out and sending me things going. And then we also have good old mics if people want. We've had people also watching this online sending questions. So this is our opportunity to interact a little bit with all of you. It's a pleasure. Big round of applause again to all the conservationists. And their teams on the ground. I think it's really important that they're all standing here on behalf of a team and of communities. Not seeing any questions, so I think I'm going to start off with the first question, and then hopefully people will get a little bit less shy. But I'd love to hear from you what you think have been observations of things that have changed since you've started in conservation. And I will open the floor to anybody who wants to take that question from the panelists. Poppy.
So I think
David.
I'm 54 now, and when I was a kid, nobody was talking to me about nature except my grandmother. So that was an exception. And one of the things that really make me hopeful is that to see the young generations, that they have this concern about the environment in their DNA, you know. They don't need to be biologists. This is something that I like to point out. People perceive that you need to study biology to be a conservationist, and it's not that right. We need psychologists, you know, architects, engineers, people working in finances to develop models to support conservation. We need people from all walks of life. But I think that what changed is that perception and what young generations are willing to do. And soon, they will represent most part of this planet, and they will vote with the conservation in their mind. And that gives me a lot of hope.
Thank you. David, you also wanted to share something?
I think I'm about 22 years old in the project now, and when we started, one of the things that I see is consistent, you know, a pattern of weather changing. It's either an extreme drought or extreme, you know, floods. So there are different things that are actually changing as far as I can see. Human expansion also around the reserves. And of course, you know, very much needed development, especially in northern part of the country. So these are all things that, you know, there's not one particular thing that is changing. There's so many bits and pieces that are actually changing, and they all have their own effect. So I think there is an opportunity to attack these things in different ways. And of course, you know, the lifestyle changing, and there's nothing wrong in communities developing. We just need plan. We need plans in place and physical plannings in place. And we're also seeing elephants, you know, sort of expanding, you know, across the landscape. So these are all things that we need to put our heads together so that we see how can we move together to the next step, or to the next 2023 sort of Kenyan's kind of blueprint kind of thing.
Great, thank you, David. So now the questions are coming in, and we're not going to have time to probably answer all the questions, but we have plenty of time after this to continue those conversations. I'll start with this one because I think they're pretty quick, and maybe we can just quickly go down the line, maybe starting with you, Lucy. Just giving you a heads up, okay? How did you get involved in the places where you're currently working? I think those answers might be pretty fast for most of you.
So I was brought up in Somalia and Lesotho in Kenya. And so my most vivid memory as a child was seeing a lot of electric fences between game and people in South Africa. And I found that really profound as a young person. And so when we moved to Kenya, I found the freedom there and the wonder of this crazy wildlife overlapping with people extremely exciting. And I've always been interested in how does this coexistence work, whether it's lions or elephants or birds or the smaller animals as well. And so Kenya is a fabulous place to study that, but to be part of the solutions that are coming through the conservation community there. And I feel like the solutions we're finding in Kenya, where we have such an engaging population to work with, can be translated and taken to other countries. So it's a really exciting hub for us, and why Save the Elephants is headquartered in Kenya as well.
Thank you, Lucy. David?
As I've grown up in in a village where there was abundance of wildlife, I've always been very much interested in wildlife. I've always been very curious. I've had elephants chasing me to and fro to school, and I read Ian's books, Amongst Elephants, and that sort of really motivated me. And as soon as I finished my high school, I walked into the camp and I said I needed to work for this organization. So that's I was given a 3 months internship, and my 3 months became 6 months internship, and 6 months became 20 years later.
Olivier?
I would say I'm working in a place where I was born, but throughout when I was little, I never thought I would become a conservationist. But I realized that actually everything started very, very, very far ago, long ago, when I was with my grandma. There was always a lot of stories, like the evening around the fire, and it's like there was transgeneration, like a transmission of all of these stories and the knowledge about wildlife. And I'm realizing all the things I'm doing nowadays, it's all this inspiration that I got from my granny. I got told a lot of stories, and again, we were given a lot of chance to go out, be with nature. And one of my best time was the evening when I went to collect water to see, and we would see cranes in the wetland dancing. I love to dance. You might wonder where I take it from. So really those are the kind of memories that were built in my head. And growing up, I was inspired to do a lot of things. I became a veterinarian for the gorillas, but it's like my heart was not in the right place until I moved out to start my own organization to really inspire others to protect the gray crown of cranes that we have all grown up with and watching, dancing. So it's just the storytelling, the inspiration that really continues to inspire us, and we want to keep that legacy.
Thank you, Olivier. Chenaria?
Mine is very strange. Yes, we were born and raised in Samburu. We have been conservationists for many years, living alongside wildlife. But that moment, I was just herding my father's livestock. And I was just a young boy running around. But my family was very poor, so I wanted to the way to support them, but I don't know how. So then, of course, Giovanni came to our conservancy and met the warden called Stephen and Antoye, who is our community warden. And she said, I want some few people to, to work with, to see how the community think about lion conservation and how we can find the lions in this region. And that is how I got into lions. And my community was very shocked because I was not supposed to conserve lions. I was supposed to kill them to reduce the conflict. So, and therefore, I was following, and we were going with Chivani, and they thought I've gone crazy, I've gone mad to follow some crazy lady. Sorry to say that, Chivani. So because we know how many lions we have killed, but we don't know how many lions are left in Kenya. Even though lions mean so much to our culture, all wildlife means so much to our culture, and therefore that is how I got into lions, going and see the lion for my first time ever in harmony without any problem, and realize that lions are just like humans, they support each other, and seeing them for 5 days, going without food and realizing how difficult life they are going through. And that's how, I felt so bad and wanted to give one of my goats, because seeing them, struggling, chasing an antelope, and the antelope runs, and that's how I got to really love lions and got into lion conservation.
Thank you, Janaria. Shiv.
I used to be called the crazy one, but he's now known as the crazy one. I'm actually pretty normal. I was born and raised in Nairobi, and I was one of those lucky Kenyan children who went on safari a lot with my parents. My parents were not conservationists. My dad was actually a motorsport rally driver. And GJ can attest, I'm actually the slowest driver he's ever been with. And when I was 8 years old, I actually saw my first cheetah, and it happened to be in Samburu. And I never forgot that moment. So when I was 8, I said, I want to do this. I want to do conservation. I want to drive around in a car and look for cheetahs. And in 2002, I got an opportunity to move up to Samburu, to go spend a weekend there. And now, 21 years later, that weekend just extended. It has been my home, and I've had the great privilege and honor to live amongst the Samburu communities with my team, who are extraordinary, and my 2 dogs, Kura and Nyori. Samburu is very much my home. The last 21 years has been an amazing journey, which I'm now writing about in a book. So stay tuned. This will come out next year, but everything will be in that. Thank you.
Poppy, I'll ask you to keep it short, by the way.
Very short. So as you've seen, my key connection was my grandmother, but I didn't want to be a biologist. I wanted to be an ambassador, so I studied laws. I didn't like it that much. I studied 2 or 3 years, but that was very useful for me because when I defend penguins with congressmen or politicians, I make a legal case for penguins. You know? So I use the legal things that I learned. And then there were a lot of oil spills, and 40,000 penguins died per year where I live in Patagonia. Per year. So I used to start rehabilitating them, and then I said, I have to be more efficient, so I pursue an academic career, but then I realized science is not enough to fix conservation problems. That's why we started the Global Penguin Society.
Great, thank you. So we did get a lot of questions. I'm not going to get through them all, but because I think we all tend to be overachievers, I want to get through as many as possible, so I'm going to do some quick ones. One to Poppy is, does Global Penguin Society have projects outside of South America?
Yes, definitely. We have
Great answer.
So we have, yes.
This is a teaser. You can all go talk to the conservationist afterwards. I've got another one.
That's a quick
That's it. I've got more coming. Hold on. I've got another one for Lucy and David, is where can people find a copy of a toolbox to learn from?
Oh, I'll take that one. There's a few outside. They might have all gone, but we can give you a free one, a free PDF. So you can either go to our website, or there's a QR code that's on one of the ones outside. Otherwise, email me, and I will email it to you. And yes, you're very welcome to all have one.
Thank you.
And please share it.
Another quick one-word answer, and this is coming from your gut, okay? It's a hard question. If you could choose another animal to work on, what would it be? I'll start with Poppy because he raised his hand.
Dragonflies and hummingbirds.
That's 2, but that's okay. Shiv,
Wild dogs.
wild dogs. If you want to learn more about wild dogs, there are people in the room who can help you with that. Janaria.
Dick.
Dick. Olivier.
Ooh, that's tough. Bats.
There are also people in the room who can help with that. David.
Hyenas.
Hyenas.
Yeah.
Lucy.
Dolphins.
Dolphins.
Dolphins, definitely.
All right.
Yeah.
Finally, marine mammal making it.
Yeah.
We are running out of time. I do want to close probably with another question for all of you. Some questions on here can be pretty depressing, talking about climate change and some of those aspects. So I'm not going to ask you about that. But I encourage you to continue those conversations afterwards. What I'd love to hear is what you're still learning about, what is still keeping you excited and discovering the sense of awe that brought you into this in the first place. What are you still learning, Lucy?
Genuinely, we still really don't understand what makes elephants move. We're tracking them. We've been tracking them for decades. We still are surprised every day. I think you know we have a tracking app now where we can see our elephants live, and we're constantly WhatsApping each other going, look what this one did. And it's just so fascinating. We're gripped to it, and I think we just haven't scratched the surface of the true depth of understanding elephant movements. There's many PhDs still to come that we need to help us fully understand it.
Right. David?
I think one of the things that is keeping me still there is I've been there long enough, but I still feel there's so much to be learning. Every other time, elephants surprise us by what they do, where they go, how they maneuver into these places. So I just feel like we're not even halfway to learn what these elephants are all about.
Okay. Olivier?
I think there is a lot to learn about species, like doing research. But one thing really that really amazes me is actually how much of the solutions are out there in the communities. Sometimes as scientists or conservation, we think we've got it, we have the solution, we are bringing this, but there is a lot of homegrown solutions. And every time we take time to sit with communities, we always find a solution together. And I'm always really up to finding something new with them. And I really hope one day I'll be able to document all of those solutions that we've been able to come up with. And those want to come more for all the challenges that are around.
Thank you, Olivier. Generia?
We are very privileged to have learned how lions can, navigate themselves through like a land where people, livestock live together. And now something that very new that happened, our lions used to be solitary, and now they're coming to form a big pride. And that is one thing that now we are learning to see how is the bigger pride, navigate themselves from one place to another without advertising themselves, showing themselves, and having those little bushes that are not enough to hide that big pride. And of course, the new challenges about infrastructure, new development coming, Vision 2030, those things, how will lions like adapt to those changes that are coming to our area, about the railway, the pipeline, the highway that's killing all the wildlife. How are the lions, will react and find their way to go from one area to another? If they put the underpasses, will the lion like pass through? So those are the things now we are up to learn. Thank you.
Thank you. I mean, these issues of connectivity, I think, are universal. Shiv?
As Generia said, the threats and challenges to lions have changed so much in the last 20 years, from dealing with retaliatory killing 15 years ago, 20 years ago, to now dealing with invasive species. We're constantly learning something new. But most of the time, we have no answers. When we started Ewaso Lions, we actually had no plan of what we were doing. You learn along the way, and we have felt that it's very much been a journey for us. I remember when I started, I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I just thought, okay, lions are being killed, what do I do about it? And I went straight to Generia and our team, let's figure this out together. And we're constantly learning ways of how we can promote that continued coexistence. Coexistence is not new in northern Kenya. People have lived with wildlife for generations, but the challenge is it's becoming so much harder. So our role is to figure out how can we keep working with our communities so wildlife and people can continue to coexist. We're learning something new every single day. That's what gets us out of bed every morning. That's what gets us out looking for lions, because I guarantee you, every single time we go out and see lions, we see something new, we learn something new, and we love it.
Poppy?
So every 2 breaths we take, the oxygen of one comes from the oceans. The oceans provide oxygen and food and regulate the weather on the entire planet. But we know more about other planets than about our own ocean. So through new technology applied to marine wildlife, we are learning so much about our own oceans. And the more we know, we can minimize unnecessary conflicts with other human beings, and we can coexist. So we can satisfy our needs and pay attention to what wildlife needs. So we are learning a lot also to minimize these conflicts so everybody can coexist.
Great, thank you. I want to thank you all for asking those questions. I want to thank the panel. I'm going to turn it back over to Bwalia. We're going to start to transition into our party. We've had some, yes, party. We have 6 great conservationists here, but they've mentioned other species, and I mentioned there are other people in the room who can talk about those species. So we're going to give you a little bit of taste and an introduction to all those people. But back over to Walia. Thank you.